Mr. Chair, council members, and participants, we are now live.
Thank you very much. This is the Committee on Rules, Monday, June 13th, 2022. I understand that the state law currently requires that the following announcement be made at the beginning of every remote public hearing as follows. Due to the current public health emergency, city council committees are currently meeting remotely. We are using Microsoft Teams to make these remote hearings possible. Instructions for how the public may view and offer public testimony at the public hearings of council committees are included in the public hearing notices that are published in the Daily News, Enquirer, and Legal Intelligencer prior to the hearings and can also be found on phlcouncil.com. Will the clerk please call the roll to take attendance? Members that are in attendance will please indicate that they are present when their names are called. Also, please say a few brief words when responding so that your image will be displayed on the screen when you speak. The clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Curtis Jones Jr.
Mr. Chair, members, viewing public, I am present.
Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, colleagues. I am present.
Councilmember David O.
Good morning, Chair and colleagues. I'm present.
Councilmember Brian O'Neill.
Good morning, everyone.
And Councilmember Cindy Bass.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and colleagues. I'm present.
Thank you. A quorum of the committee is present, and this hearing is now called to order. This is the public hearing of the Committee on Rules regarding bills number 220120, 220365, and 220457. Will the clerk please read the titles of the bills?
Bill number 220120, an ordinance continuing the Mount Airy Business Improvement District beyond its termination date in an area that generally includes both sides of Germantown Avenue from 6300 to 7631 in certain avenue, and for which the Mount Airy Improvement District, Inc., Pennsylvania nonprofit corporation is the Neighborhood Improvement District Management Association for the district, approving a final plan and report for the district, including a list of proposed improvements and their estimated costs, and providing for assessment fees to be levied on the property owners within the district. Bill number 220365, continuing the Port Richmond Industrial Development Enterprise Neighborhood Improvement District beyond its termination date in the area bounded generally by the north side of Allegheny Avenue, the west side of Memphis Street between Allegheny Avenue and East Westmoreland Street, the south side of East Westmoreland Street, property line of 3300 Agat Street, and the back of the properties facing west along the east side of Tulip Street between Westmoreland and Ontario Streets. And Bill number 220457, authorizing the Public Property Commissioner on behalf of the city to execute all documents necessary and appropriate, including conveyances of easements, title, and other interests in city-owned real estate, new leases and amendments to existing leases, to facilitate and support the coordinated and comprehensive development of the Delaware River waterfront, Interstate 95, and Christopher Columbus Boulevard, formerly a portion of Delaware Avenue, in the area bounded by Market Street, Pemberton Street, Front Street, and the Delaware River bulkhead line, and authorizing the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority to execute corresponding conveyances, amendments, and agreements, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Brett. Before we begin to hear testimony from the witnesses we have for today, everyone who has been invited to the meeting to testify should be aware that this public hearing is being recorded. Because the hearing is public, participants and viewers have no reasonable expectation of privacy. By continuing to be in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. Additionally, prior to recognizing members for their questions or comments they have for witnesses, I will note for the record at this time that we will use the chat feature available on Microsoft Teams to allow members to signify that they wish to be recognized. In order to comply with the Sunshine Act, the chat feature must only be used for this purpose. Will the clerk please call the panel for bill number 220120?
For 220120, we have Philip Green, Janice Reish, and Ken Weinstein.
Good morning. Are you connected and ready to proceed?
Yes. Philip Green here.
So please state your name for the record and you can begin, Philip.
Okay. My name is Philip Green. Good morning, Chairman Johnson and members of the Rules Committee. I am a Corridor Improvements Manager within the Commerce Department and the department's liaison to Philadelphia's 14 business improvement districts. I'm here to testify in support of Bill number 220120. This bill reauthorizes the Mount Airy Business Improvement District for an additional 5 years. The legislation includes the Mount Airy bids plan for services and would allow the bid to continue to levy assessment fees on property owners within the district to fund a variety of services that make the business corridor thrive. The Mount Airy bid formed in 2007 to address conditions within the historic and charming commercial district along Germantown Avenue in Mount Airy. The bid is responsible for cleaning and beautification and works closely with Mount Airy businesses. The bid provides regular daily sidewalk litter removal. It has also implemented and maintains beautification improvements, including planters and banners. And it has also created 6 planted pocket parks along the avenue over the last 2 years. As you can imagine, these pocket parks have been very popular and a vital amenity during the pandemic. The bid is guided by an active and engaged board comprised of merchants, residents, and neighborhood stakeholders. Commerce has been pleased to support the Mount Airy bid by using capital funds to plan a project that will create new, safe crosswalks across Germantown Avenue at locations within the district, enabling neighbors and visitors to travel more safely to visit businesses. The commercial district in Mount Airy is an important shopping and gathering place for nearby residents and critical to the health and vibrancy of Mount Airy and nearby neighborhoods. The Mount Airy bid provides a great example of the positive change that can be possible when neighborhood business owners, property owners, and residents lead, guide, and implement services and projects to make their area better. These worthy efforts deserve your support. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm glad to take any questions at this time.
Thank you. Will the next panelist please state your name for the record and begin your testimony?
Yes. Good morning, Chairman Johnson, members of the Rules Committee. To start with, I want to acknowledge and thank Councilwoman Cindy Bass's staff for the assistance they provided. My name's Janice Reish. I'm the Executive Director of the Mount Airy Business Improvement District, and I've been in this position for 4.5 years. It's a pleasure to be part of the bid because Mount Airy in the Northwest had been my home since 2003. Because I work with a deeply committed group of board members who take their fiduciary responsibility very seriously, and because I'm eager to support the success of the small businesses that invest in Mount Airy every day. Mount Airy, the community, is bounded to the north by Gresham Valley Drive, depending who you speak to the south by Washington Lane, to the east by Stenton Avenue, and to the west by Fairmount Park. The Business Improvement District covers a lengthy 2-mile stretch of Germantown Avenue that serves as Mount Airy's main commercial corridor, as well as the unifying bridge between East and West Mount Airy. It runs from Washington Lane to Gresham Valley Drive. It includes several of the adjacent side streets that maintain commercial activity, including Allen's Lane, Mount Airy Avenue, Nippon Street, Durham, Mount Pleasant, and Meehan. And within these 2 miles, there's a mix of commercial, historical, not-for-profit, and residential properties. The Business Improvement District includes 247 commercial properties that run the gamut from professional services to retail and beverage. Mount Airy, the community, and Mount Airy's Germantown Avenue commercial corridor are both socioeconomically and racially diverse, which is one of its greatest assets and attractions. Mount Airy is seen as a middle neighborhood, home to both working class and middle class residents, and its business improvement district has long exceeded the national average in terms of the number of businesses owned by people of color. Nationally, it's around 4%. In Mount Airy, it's closer to 50%. And most excitingly, Mount Airy is part of a national trend that has seen an uptick in the number of Black women launching small businesses. According to JP Morgan, in 2021, Black women were the fastest growing demographic of entrepreneurs in the US, accounting for nearly 2.7 million businesses nationwide. In Mount Airy, in the past 4 years, including during the pandemic, many of the delightful new additions to the Business Improvement District include a garden center, a couple of boutiques, a business center, a men's spa, a restaurant and cider brewery, all with Black women at their helm. I have no doubt that the cleanliness, the beauty, and the relative safety of the commercial corridor is part of the draw, but it takes effort to maintain that. Every day, the BID's crew collects an average of 3,000 gallons of debris, or over 100,000 gallons per year. Investing in Mount Airy's commercial corridor by renewing the Business Improvement District is an important strategy for both city and neighborhood stabilization, as well as supporting these entrepreneurs who are bringing fresh energy to Mount Airy while pursuing financial independence and opportunity for themselves and their families. Ken Weinstein, who's the board chair for the Mount Airy bid, will continue with our testimony. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Ken Weinstein, how you doing?
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Chairman Johnson, Councilperson Cindy Bass, and members of the Rules Committee. I'm Ken Weinstein, President of Philly Office Retail, mission-driven real estate development company, and founder of Jumpstart Germantown and Jumpstart Philly, which is a community development program that helps local residents remove blight in their neighborhoods. As Janice said, I serve as chair of the Mount Airy bid and would like to acknowledge my fellow Mount Airy bid board members who work to prepare our 5-year renewal for the Mount Airy, or who support our 5-year renewal for the Mount Airy Business Improvement District. Jen Lowe from Frosted Fox Cake Shop is here today. Michael Schweisheimer from Primitive World Productions. Yvonne Haskins from Ariade Properties. Libby Hawes from the Clifton of the National Trust. Monique Pines from Outrageous Brush and Flow Studio. And finally, Wendy Weinstein from Ground Zero Salon. I appreciate the opportunity to appear today before City Council's Rules Committee to speak in favor of this legislation. As a co-founder of the Mount Airy bid 15 years ago, I will never forget that before the bid was formed, I had to regularly pick up trash and sweep outside my properties in what seemed like a very futile attempt to maintain an attractive climate for business customers and potential tenants. After City Council initially approved the Mount Airy bid 15 years ago, we set out to change the physical nature of the Mount Airy Business District. Our goal was to clean, beautify, and provide safety to the 2-mile stretch of Germantown Avenue from Gresham Valley to Washington Lane and its commercial side streets. 15 years later, I'm proud to report that we succeeded with our mission. With 2 full-time street ambassadors removing litter 6 days a week, sweeping up leaves and other natural debris, and removing graffiti on a regular basis, our members and the public have come to expect clean streets here in Mount Airy. Moreover, we've done much to clean and beautify, or green and beautify, the commercial corridor. We recently completed, as Philip said, the construction of 6 pocket parks at a cost of more than $250,000 that serve as community gathering spots, which were especially needed during the pandemic. And we maintain an award-winning hanging flower basket program that's being replicated in other parts of the city. We've done much to improve safety along our commercial corridor. We purchased and installed security lighting on the sides and rears of more than 50 properties in the district. We serve as the eyes and ears of the commercial corridor, regularly reporting streetlight outages, short dumping, and other nuisances to the city's 311 system. And we're now working with the city's Commerce and Streets Department to add pedestrian crosswalks at 7 key intersections along Germantown Avenue. I think that's going to make a really great impact here. To prepare for reauthorization, the Mount Airy bid created a steering committee, held focus groups with property, business, nonprofit, and community members, and sought feedback at our annual meetings and a survey that was distributed through snail mail, our e-newsletter, and our website. The broad consensus was that the bid should continue to do what it's currently doing, focusing on the physical infrastructure of the commercial corridor through projects that contribute to the cleaning, beautification, greening, and safety of the business district. We're here today before you to seek another 5 years for the Mount Airy bid. We propose to keep our boundaries the same. We propose to continue street cleaning and graffiti removal 6 days a week, beautification and greening of the business corridor. These services supplement regular city services and do not replace them. A modest change to our assessment criteria is to exclude residential owner-occupied condos in commercially zoned properties. This puts us in line with the practices of other bids and consistent with our intent to create a favorable business climate. In keeping with city practices, we also propose an annual budget that caps increases to 4% annually. We will continue to leverage our precious dollars by seeking government and private funding to make further improvements to the avenue and expect to bring $3 million in government funding to the commercial corridor over the next 5 years. An annual audit will continue to be performed with reporting to all assessed property owners, the city, and the state. Finally, we have done much to revitalize the Mount Airy Business District through the efforts of our hardworking staff. Janice has been particularly wonderful and effective to work with. Our board members, which are very representative of the community, and other community stakeholders. Mount Airy is a different place than it was 15 years ago. Our property owners, businesses, customers, and neighbors count on a high level of cleanliness and beautification. We seek your support for this ordinance introduced by our councilperson, Cindy Bass, to continue to meet and surpass those expectations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ken. And before I turn it over, I just want to acknowledge your team's hard work, but most importantly, I want to acknowledge the leadership of your councilwoman, Cindy Bass, who's been a staunch advocate in terms of improving the quality of life of Mount Airy and Germantown. And so I definitely support it because I know she's day in and day out on the ground addressing such quality of life issues. And so I want to turn this over to Councilwoman Cindy Bass for the 8th Councilmanic District.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your kind words. And I first off want to start off saying I want to thank everyone for all of the hard work that they do around the Mount Airy bid. It's just an exemplary example of community working together and what can be done, what can be accomplished. Because one of the things I just wanted to say as I was hearing, all of the great comments about how wonderful it is now. I remember when it wasn't so wonderful. I worked along that corridor for many years, and there were a number of us, myself and Ken and some others who were, I would say sort of like at the forefront of, ground zero when it wasn't so nice and it didn't feel safe and it was, not really clean. And I heard, I think it was Janice mentioned that it was, Janice, I think you said something like charming and historic and charming. And I was like, boy, we've come a long way, baby, because it wasn't so charming, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, before this, the bid got underway. It was pretty rough. I remember there was sort of like this little triangle where there was like a nuisance bar, a spot where the guys sold drugs, and then a spot where guys gambled. And it was, like that was about it along our commercial corridor. So we've come a long way. We've come a long way by working together, to be quite honest. And even though it's not, it's not perfect, I would say it's near perfect. We've done great work. We're on the move and spreading the The services down the avenue at one point was a challenge, and I believe we've tackled that as well. So I think that we're doing good work, and for all those involved, keep up the good work. And I am just glad to be supportive of this effort. And also, I think Janice, or maybe it was Ken, I don't know, mentioned someone from the Frosted Fox, which I want to give a shout out to, which is one of my favorite sweet shops in the city of Philadelphia. As someone with a very strong sweet tooth, the Frosted Fox does an incredible job. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you. And my favorite restaurant is Sin Sin.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Well, not covered by this bid. That's Chestnut Hill, but
Oh,
nonetheless.
see, my bad. So
That's
that's
all right.
not South Philadelphia. It's a
That's
different
okay.
conversation. No problem.
They'll be coming before you soon enough. That's Chestnut Hill Business Improvement District. So you'll be seeing them as well.
So Ken, when I used to go to your spot at the trolley car, that's the area, correct?
That is correct. That is the northernmost part of the bid, yes.
Understood.
And if I could just say, Councilwoman, I remember when you worked at 23 Sturham, so I know that you were on the avenue every day. And we also not very fondly remember that drug triangle that you just described accurately.
Ooh, it was rough. It was a rough spot. So things do change. Thank you for all your work, everyone who's involved. Thank you.
Well, you do have a pizza shop that sells vegan pizza. I don't know the exact name of it, but the missus took me there one time ago on the right-hand side if you're going downtown.
That is, I think that's Fino's. Is that Fino's?
That's correct.
Yes.
Fino's, right at Carpenter Lane. And across the street is the Breakfast Boutique, which is also one of my favorite spots. Councilman, I don't know if you've been there, but you might want to check that out for everyone who's listening. That's another great spot, newer, but great breakfast spot on the avenue. So
awesome.
Point of information.
Members of the committee, Councilman Jones.
Point of information. Yeah. So I'm gonna shout out the Old Rib Crib.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
And I remember when I was at PCDC, we did Chef Ken up on the avenue.
Yeah.
And so I understand how, that is like a melting pot up there and to be replicated throughout the city.
I would say that there are a considerable number of African-American owned eateries along this corridor that haven't really received the full amount of attention and promotion that I think that they deserve, because they're really, really good spots. And so we want you to, Councilman, leave the 4th District and come up here as much as you possibly can with your dollars and spend along Germantown Avenue and along the corridor. There's a few other spots I want to connect you with as well. But and I know that this is not the focus of the hearing, but one last thing is that I spoke with Kimberly Gray, Mr. Gray's daughter, from the Rib Crib last week, and she is working on reopening that location. So we're all looking forward to that, I think.
Well, thank you, everyone. And any other comments from members of the committee? Hearing none, I want to thank all the panelists for their testimony and going to have the clerk call the next panel.
For bill number 220365, we have Philip Green, Rich Hoffman, and Joseph Bennett.
Hi again, it's Philip Green from the Commerce Department. I'm here to testify in support of bill number 220365. This bill reauthorizes the Port Richmond Industrial Development Enterprise, also known as PRIDE, for an additional 5 years. The legislation includes PRIDE's plan for services and would allow the bid to continue to levy assessment fees on property owners within the district to sustain vital cleaning and safety programs. The PRIDE district is home to a cluster of manufacturing and industrial businesses located within a 16-block area of Port Richmond. It was formed in 2000 and was created to provide services and improvements to ensure that the area remains a clean and safe location for the manufacturing and industrial businesses located there. Its services also maintain the quality of life for neighbors nearby. PRIDE provides cleaning in partnership with Impact Services, who remove litter and report short dumping and clean up illegal dumping. Pride promotes security by maintaining relationships with the 24th Police District and has partnered with property owners and businesses to install more than 30 cameras within the district using the Commerce Department's Business Security Camera Program. Pride has implemented signage and infrastructure improvements and organized district-wide cleanups. Pride's efforts are more important than ever given the impact of the opioid crisis on the area. I urge your support of Pride so that it may continue to benefit its businesses, its workers, and its neighbors. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify. I'm glad to take any questions at this time.
Thank you very much. And the next panelist, please say their name and begin their testimony.
Good morning. Rich Hoffman from H.R. Benjamin Electrical Contractors.
You can begin, Richard.
Thank you. And good morning, Chairman Johnson and members of the Committee on Rules. I'm Rich Hoffman, President of H.R. Benjamin Electrical Contractors, like I stated, in Port Richmond. First, let me just say, unfortunately, we don't have very many fancy restaurants in our district. Pardon the pun, but we do go to some of those restaurants mentioned, and they're wonderful. Sorry. Here today to testify in support of Bill 220365 to determine reauthorization for an additional 5 years of neighborhood industrial district known as Pride. Currently, I'm the president of Pride and been involved with Pride for almost all of the 20 years it has been authorized. I welcome the opportunity to speak today and identify the contributions Pride has made to the success of our NID and businesses within its boundaries. Our company is a small electrical contractor, started in the basement of my parents' home and has been steadily operating in the city since 1985. We only employ about a dozen employees full-time. However, the building we are in, which spans about a city block, has many companies as tenants. These include a sizable radiator manufacturer, distributor, industrial bag manufacturer, distributor, multiple woodworking manufacturers, multiple distributors, and contractors. The building is home to approximately 125 total employees and dates back to the 1920s. It was home to Penn Ventilator Manufacturing for many decades, and we were told had almost 1,000 employees in it at one time. As you know, the Pride area, as well as many other areas in the city, have been steadily losing industrial buildings to residential development, and our group was founded on trying to maintain and increase industrial jobs in our district. Over the last 20 years, Pride has been and continues to provide a positive influence in Port Richmond. We've engaged in cleaning and security throughout the approximate 1 mile square for all its members for the betterment of the businesses and residences. In part, this has been paid for by our own taxation and in part paid for by grants that were secured to improve the district. The nonprofit organization Pride has rebuilt many of the street corners that were damaged by industrial traffic, better secured the properties, cleaned up much trash, established better security, improved the overall safety in coordination with the city's Commerce Department, police, and managing director's office, all while providing jobs for service and security personnel in the area. Pride continues to upgrade, install, and replace security camera systems at members' buildings as the technology changes, and we will shortly be up to 50 high-quality security cameras in the Pride district. I'm here in support of all those efforts. Over each of the multiple 5 years reauthorizations that our internal tax rate has varied greatly for many reasons. In this coming reauthorization, the Pride Board is now recommending and requesting reauthorization at a greatly reduced percentage property tax of 3.75%. Many reasons for this as follows. Pride's vendors that maintain cleanliness and security believe they can maintain minimal cost increases throughout the 5-year reauthorization. The city's industrial property taxes have been steadily increasing, and this is which the basis which Pride assessments are calculated. Pride has been successful in collecting delinquent assessments that will be used in this 5-year cycle to offset some of the new costs. The Pride Board has been and is assuming will continue to receive additional grant monies, is the assumption. And in these challenging economic times, we obviously want to minimize any additional burden in taxation to all of the Pride companies. The Pride Board continues to believe that by assisting the city's own efforts, cleaning and security throughout the neighborhoods in our district, it can only improve the conditions for employees, businesses, and residents throughout Port Richmond. There are over 1,000 manufacturing and support jobs in the Pride area, which by themselves provide significant tax revenue to the city of Philadelphia. In addition, a large percentage of the employees in all of the Pride companies are folks from the surrounding neighborhoods. This bill and the reauthorization continues to strengthen that focus. I strongly encourage council to approve bill number 220365 for the Pride group for an additional 5 years. Thank you. And a PS, we wanted to give a special thanks to Commerce and Dennis Murphy, Karen Fegley, Philip Green, and the whole team, as well as Councilman Squilla, Sean McMonagle, and their teams as well. Thank you again.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the next panelist?
I believe the next panelist should be Joseph Bennett, but I am not sure if he was able to connect. Joseph Bennett, if you are on, please, you may unmute and begin your testimony.
Okay, it seems like he's not on. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Okay, hearing none. Thank you everyone for their testimony. Will the clerk please call the next panel?
For bill number 220457, we have Elizabeth Lincolnow, John Mondlak, and Joe Forkin.
John, you want to say your first and last name and begin your testimony?
Sure, Councilman. Good morning, Chairman Johnson and members of the Rules Committee. My name is John Munlock, and I am the Deputy Director for Development Services in the Department of Planning and Development. I'm here to offer up an amendment to Bill 220457. The amendment simply clarifies the specific agreements that the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority is authorized to change pursuant to this bill and be in compliance with the urban redevelopment law. The changes are fairly technical. They identify the agreements that redevelopment authority is part of and which ones they can change. In no way does it affect any other aspect of the project, the park, or any of the other agreements with PennDOT. I respectfully request that the amendment be considered at this committee hearing, and in conclusion, I'm here to answer questions.
Thank you very much. Will the clerk please call the next panelist?
For the next panelist, we have Elizabeth Lincolnow.
Elizabeth, are you connected?
Councilmember, if she is not connected, we may have to take a brief pause because she was going to present. I know she was on a moment ago, so there might have just been connection issues, but she was going to present something. So.
Okay. Any other panelists for this particular bill?
We have Joe Forkin.
Okay, Mr. Forkin, can you say your name?
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Chairperson Johnson and members of the Rules Committee. My name is Joe Forkin, and I am the president of the Delaware River Waterfront Corporation, the nonprofit organization charged by the City of Philadelphia to transform the Central Delaware River waterfront into a dynamic and vibrant destination for the benefit of all Philadelphians. I am here today to testify in support of Bill number 220457, an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute all documents necessary to facilitate the coordinated rebuilding of the Chestnut Street and Spruce Street covers over Interstate 95 and the extension of the South Street pedestrian bridge to the river. This bill represents
feedback going on. I'm not sure what that feedback is coming from. But go ahead, sir.
This bill represents some of the final technical steps needed to realize what we believe is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to reconnect the city of Philadelphia to its Delaware River waterfront. A reminder for everyone, this project has been in planning for just over 10 years since the adoption of the master plan for the Central Delaware by the city of Philadelphia. And in that plan, DRWC's role was really to look at how to cure the psychological and physical disconnection caused by the Interstate 95 that severed the waterfront off from connecting with the city of Philadelphia. And this thought, among many other thoughts of parks and trail systems, to reconnect one block of the city substantially between Chestnut and Walnut Street and Front Street and the river as the keystone gathering place on the Central Delaware River waterfront for all Philadelphians sort of really took hold in the public's mind. Since that time, in over 10 years, we've engaged thousands of Philadelphians from across the entire city through a really creative public outreach effort. And that public outreach effort had realized a lot of the thoughts and aspirations for the entire city through both the design of the new park, through the programming that would take place there, even in park policies and rules and how welcoming the space could be. And we're thrilled today to say that this is one of the final steps needed to leverage a wonderful partnership between the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, represented by PennDOT, the city of Philadelphia through the capital budget, which was already authorized to support this project, and through DRWC and philanthropic partners like the William Penn Foundation, the Knight Foundation, and the Pew Charitable Trusts, as well as other donors to raise $25 million to support this effort. I know that Liz has some slides here and some really nice renderings to show the public feedback and the sort of dynamic space that has been created through this outreach effort. And sort of to conclude my testimony, I just want to say together, we couldn't be more excited with our partners at the city, at PennDOT, and with the support of William Penn Foundation, the Knight Foundation, the Pew Trusts, and the thousands of Philadelphians who have participated over the decade in community efforts to transform Penn's Landing. I also want to especially thank Councilmember Squilla for being a tireless advocate for the waterfront and for this project. Without his support, I don't know that this collaboration could have been possible.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments from members of the committee? Okay, hearing none.
So,
Councilman Curtis
excuse
Jones.
me, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, just very quickly, I was there for the announcement of that ambitious project. At the time, I think it was quoted at about $90 million. I was wondering, since the pandemic, since supply chain, since inflationary impacts on materials, what is the current total project cost for that overhang?
So thank you for that question, Councilmember Jones. I think it has escalated the project, and just to be clear, the city's portion of this was $90 million. 20 million of that into the construction of what's called the on-road trail segment that connects Washington Avenue to Spring Garden Street. That is built, council member. That is built and now open and very successful. And the other $70 million in support of the park features, the pavilion, the ice rink, the gardens, the amphitheater where we hold the Pico Multicultural series and the jazz series and the fireworks. That is what the city 70 million supports. PennDOT's cost did go up, but they have covered that. So they're at about $200 million for their cost. And DRWC has raised the extra 25 million. Through the latest cost estimate that we have, we are covered. And we are prepared to move forward once this bill is approved.
What is the time frame for the completion of the project?
So we're very hopeful to break ground in early 2023. And from there, we're looking at about a 4-year construction project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for this ambitious transformation of the waterfront.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Elizabeth back. Elizabeth, do you want to go ahead and do your testimony?
Yes, thank you. I apologize. I'm calling in through my phone, so I won't be able to show the graphics until Teams catches up. Good morning, Chairperson Johnson and members of the Rules Committee. My name is Elizabeth Lankenow, and I am the Director of Infrastructure Program Coordination at the Office of Transportation, Infrastructure, and Sustainability. I am here today to testify in support of Bill number 220457, an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute all documents necessary to facilitate the coordinated rebuilding of the Chestnut Street and Spruce Street covers over Interstate 95 and the extension of the South Street pedestrian bridge. For more than 2 decades, the city has worked closely with PennDOT to reconstruct I-95. As part of that reconstruction project, the existing 1.5-acre park-like cover that bridges I-95 at Chestnut Street requires replacement. Rather than replace it in kind, PennDOT has agreed to expand it to a 4-acre cover to bridge both I-95 and Christopher Columbus Boulevard. In addition, PennDOT will rebuild the public space at Penn's Landing, connecting it to this new expanded cover. This will create a continuous, nearly 12-acre public space, the new Penn's Landing Park, extending from Front Street to the Delaware River between Chestnut and Walnut Streets. Once PennDOT completes the infrastructure that spans these 2 roads and connects Front Street directly to the waterfront, the Delaware River Waterfront Corporation will install landscaping and build the cafe, public bathrooms, and modest public building to create a transformational civic space that conceals a portion of I-95 and reconnects this area of the city to its waterfront. Joe Forkin, thank you very much, gave his testimony earlier today. And so the covers over I-95 in the vicinity of Spruce Street may also need to be replaced as PennDOT rebuilds that portion of I-95. With similar planning, design, and reconstruction needs as the Chestnut Street cover for Penn's Landing Park, this ordinance would also authorize the agreements necessary to allow PennDOT to rebuild the Spruce Street covers. In addition to rebuilding the covers over 95, this ordinance will authorize the city to work with PennDOT to extend the South Street pedestrian bridge, which crosses I-95 and terminates currently in a parking lot on the west side of Christopher Columbus Boulevard. The extension, which will terminate at a newly completed section of the Delaware River Trail, will create another new, direct, and safe access point to the waterfront. The creation of this new multi-million-dollar Penn's Landing Park is cost shared with funding from the city, PennDOT, and the Delaware River Waterfront Corporation. At the outset of the project, the city committed $90 million to be used toward the construction of the Delaware River Trail between Washington Avenue and Spring Garden Street, and the improvements that will turn the PennDOT-built infrastructure into the 12-acre Penn's Landing Park. Of this amount, the first $20 million has been expended on the now complete trail, with the remaining amount programmed in the capital budget for expenditure on the park by the Delaware River Waterfront Corporation with oversight by the city. The financial commitments by the city have already been authorized. This ordinance only authorizes the execution of documents necessary to facilitate the coordinated rebuilding of the area as described. The Department of Public Property and the Office of Transportation, Infrastructure, and Sustainability support this measure, and accordingly, I respectfully ask that City Council approve Bill 220457. I am requesting a suspension of the rules so as to allow first reading at the next session of Council. And thank you. I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Okay. Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to testify on any of the bills that have been put forward today? Hearing none, this concludes the hearing. We will now take a pause and go into our public meeting.
Mr. Chair, this is Councilmember Sanchez. I just wanted to let you know that I have been present. I haven't been able to access the chat room.
Okay. The chair officially recognizes the Councilwoman Maria Keona Sanchez as present. I want to thank all the panels of witnesses for their participation today. We value your input and now invite all panels of witnesses to please disconnect from the meeting as we go officially into our public from the hearing before we go officially into our public meeting. This concludes the public hearing on the committee, and we will now convene the public meeting. Will the clerk please call the roll to take attendance? Members that are in attendance will please indicate that they are present when their names are called. Also, please say a few brief words when responding so that your image will be displayed on screen when you speak.
Councilmember Curtis Jones Jr.,
Mr. Chair, colleagues, I'm present.
Councilmember Catherine Gilmore Richardson,
Good morning, Mr. Chair and colleagues. I am present.
Councilmember David O.,
Good morning, Chair. I'm present as well.
Councilmember Brian O'Neill, Councilmember Cindy
Present.
Bass,
Good morning. I'm still present. Thank you.
and Councilmember Maria Quinones Sanchez.
I am here. I'm present.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilman Catherine Gilmore Richardson for a motion on bill number 220120.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that bill number 220120 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council.
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilmember Curtis Jones seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 220120 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. The chair recognizes Councilman Catherine Gilmore Richardson for a motion on bill number 220365.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that bill number 220365 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council.
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilwoman Cindy Bass seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 220365 be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson for a motion on the amendment to bill number 220457.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I offer an amendment to bill number 220457. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of the committee. I move that the amendment to bill number 220457 be approved.
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilwoman Cindy Bass seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to bill number 220457 be approved. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson for a motion on bill number 220457 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that bill number 220457 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council.
Second.
The chair notes for the record that Councilwoman Cindy Bass seconds the motion. It has been moved and properly seconded that bill number 220457 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of this bill at the next session of council. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. This concludes this hearing, and I just want to personally thank everybody for taking time out of your schedule and participating in this rules hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Take care.